Okay, we're going to talk about building up our pentatonic scales, but let's start with our major scale review real quick. I have a couple of tools, the circle of fifths up here, and then some blank staff paper down below. You can use any of this stuff in MuseScore or Finale or by hand, just like I'm doing if you would like. It's a little bit quicker for me to draw it, so I figured that's the way that we would do it today, and that's how we would review. So a major scale is pretty simple. It starts out with 8 notes. That's all it is. A major scale has 8 notes. And so that's what we're going to start with on this first line right here. We're just going to draw a C major scale, and we're going to start with 8 notes, starting with C and ending with C. So here we go. There are 8 notes, and we'll label them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and not 8, we go back to 1 because the first note and the last note of a major scale are the same exact notes. And so we put these little carets over top of it because that tells us there's something called degrees, scale degrees. And the scale degrees are going to be important a little bit later when we talk about the pentatonic scale. So we're going to label it here just again so you can see, and this will help you be able to identify the notes a little bit later. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. I don't skip any lines. I don't skip any notes in the musical alphabet. And that's another thing we're going to draw here over to the side just to help refresh your memory, is our musical alphabet is only 7 letters long. So it's pretty easy. It's A through G, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And once you get to the end, once you get to G, you just repeat it over and over again, and you can keep going infinitely. So we'll just go up a couple more here. We'll go past G, we'll repeat it A, B, and C, and likewise, you just go backwards at the bottom. So A, you go backwards to G, F, E, D, C, B, A, etc., etc. You keep going. So that musical alphabet is super helpful, and it's nice because, like I said, it's only 7 letters long. So the next tool we're going to give you is a staff full of note names. And we're going to do it in the treble clef, which is that little fancy looking G over there on the side. And we're going to start right below the staff, and we're going to draw a note for every line and every space on the staff. And we're not going to skip any, and we'll go slightly above the staff too. So you see the note sits on top of the staff, and then you see a note that goes up above it with the ledger line in the middle, which is just an extension of the staff. So what we're going to do is label the note G first. And why we do that, that's the second line. And you see that little tail circles the second line, which tells us that that is a G. So after that, we can just quickly label all the rest of the notes. So you just walk right up to the notes. You don't skip any lines or any spaces, and you just label the musical alphabet in order. So G, and then the next note would be A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A repeats, and again we go backwards. So from G we go back down F, E, D, and C. So that's going to help us when we build our first scale, which is a G major scale. And we're going to start with the note G, which is the second line. And the reason I know that it starts on the second line, because I go up to my note key there and I find the second line is a G. So I can start it and I can end it that way. And the reason I can end it and start it with the G is because major scales start and end with the name of the scale. So it starts with the G and it ends with the G because it's a G major scale. So then you don't skip any lines or spaces, and then you just follow the musical alphabet all the way up. So we have the basic of our scale, but it's not quite complete. We have to jump up to the circle of fifths to double check to see if there are any altered notes. And altered notes are notes that are raised a half step or lowered a half step. So we go up to our circle of fifths, and you could remember it by following the pattern, like on a piano, which is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, which is the space between the intervals. Or you could just use this circle of fifths. And the reason this is so helpful is because it helps us to identify quickly, especially if you don't have your key signatures memorized, which sharps and which flats are in the keys. And so we're going to be looking at the capital letters on the outside of the circle because those are our major scales. So we found G up in the top right hand corner. It's outlined in blue there, a blue square, and we see that the top note is an F sharp. And just a quick note, if you go to the right of the scale, you get sharps. If you go to the left, you get flats. The sharps are the pound-looking symbols, flats look like lowercase b's. And the further you go down the circle, the more you add of whichever side you're on. So back up to G, we see the top line has a sharp symbol on it. So we go back down to our scale, we find the note that's on the top line, and we see that, hey, that's an F sharp. So that's the note that we're going to alter. So we put the sharp symbol in front of the note, and then we put it after the letter name. That's how it always is in music. So the sharp goes before the note and after the letter name. And so now our scale is complete. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. So now we can jump down to A major, and it's going to be the same process. So we know that A major is the name of the scale, so that means we're going to start with an A, and then we're going to end with an A. And again, we can go back up to our key, and we can see that A is the second space. So we got it good. Now we can go to the last note, find the other A to the right, and we see that's the note above the staff. So we just put it there. We have our outlines now. Outline of the scale. So now we just draw a note for every line and every space in between those two A's. And we can label it again here. We don't skip any letters in the musical alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. So we have all the notes for an A major scale. We just have to see if any of them are altered now. Remember, alter notes are sharps or flats, and so we find the capital A on our circle of fifths. There it is. It is outlined in red with a red square, and we see that there are three alter notes, or three sharps. The top line, the second space, and the space right above the staff. So I need you to help remember that because we're going to transfer that down to our A major scale. So the first note we go to is the top line. We know where that's at, F sharp. The second sharp was the second space, so that's a C sharp. And finally, the last sharp in that key signature was the space right above the staff, so it's a G sharp. So you see the sharps are in front of the notes, after the note names, and now our A major is complete. And so the accidentals are there. There are three sharps. We double check. There are three sharps there in the circle of fifths, so we're good to go. So that major scale, you see it's labeled with accidentals, shows the accidentals in the scale. Well, we can skip all that if we really wanted to. We write the same scale out, A, B, C, D, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. And you notice I don't put the accidentals in the scale. What we're going to do is we're going to transfer that key signature down to the beginning of the staff. So we'll put those three sharps there at the top line, the second space, and the space right above the staff. So that means any F, C, or G is a sharp no matter where they're at in the scale or where they're at in the staff. So that's just a quick way to save ink if you really wanted to. And but we're going to draw the A major scale with accidentals to figure out our pentatonic scale. So same process, start with A, every line, every space, all the way up until you get to the next A. And we're going to label it A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. And of course we add our sharp symbols in for C sharp, F sharp, and G sharp. And there's our A major scale. And we keep writing it, right? But we need to start there because we need to know which ones are the fourth and the seventh scale degrees of this scale. So remember we talked about scale degrees were important earlier in this video. So we're going to label our notes A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, and this just helps us to visualize it again, and then we write these numbers in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then not 8 but 1, and we put those little carets up because that means degree, so scale degree. So now we say we got to remove the fourth and the seventh scale degree, right? So we're going to highlight the fourth one, that's D. We're going to highlight the seventh scale degree, that's G sharp. And let's just cross those off. So now those notes don't exist in the pentatonic scale. So what we're left with then is 5 different notes, right? There's 6 notes in the scale, but remember the first and last note are the same. So why is that important? Well, we have penta, 5 notes. Penta means 5, so that's why we get pentatonic. Pentatonic scale is 5 different notes. And we end up with A, B, C sharp, E, F sharp, and A. And so our pentatonic scale is just the major scale minus the 4th and 7th scale degree. We end up with 5 notes. It sounds cool. It's used in a lot of music like rock music or blues or pop music. And there you have it. You have your uh, A major pentatonic scale. And you can follow the same process for any other scale you wanted to.